So I just watched Pokemon the movie I Choose You, and I have thoughts. Mainly, what the fuck? Like, I don't get the point of this movie. Oddly enough, it didn't initially feel like a greedy, nostalgic cash grab, but as we get through all of my thoughts, it'll kind of seem inevitable that this is the case.
The cold grip of capitalism chokes the innocence out of our childhood yet again.
It could have been meant as a love letter to OG fans, but it falls pretty flat for that to ring true. Maybe it was some combination of the two, greedy corporate overlords and a passionate team that actually cared about the franchise. Alas, whatever the reason, the movie was like weird and confusing and bad. It felt as if they tried taking all the best parts from the TV show and just stitched them together, mostly butchering them in the process. So let's start with the fundamental part. Ash Ketchum. They seem to have made this version of Ash more reminiscent of X and Y Ash. Assured, confident, headstrong, which doesn't really work well for the beginning of this particular journey, I think. Take the Pikachu Spearow scene, for instance. At the beginning of both versions of his adventure, this is a pivotal moment in our understanding of his character. TV Ash had a duality in his character. He was cocky and selfish and generally just a brat. So when that kid who's been dragging Pikachu along the whole time, desperate to start his journey, jumps in front of a cloud of Spearow to protect him, it's a much more impactful moment where we come to understand his underlying good-hearted nature. And that duality is what carries Ash through the series and makes him so memorable. We just don't get that from movie Ash, where he's immediately confident, assured, and has a heart of gold. It's still a big emotional moment in Ash and Pikachu's bonding, so I won't say it doesn't work at all, but it's a clear indicator that this Ash and this story is far less interesting as a young kid on a new adventure. What's even sillier is that they instead opt to make him ridiculously clumsy as some pathetic attempt to replace real characterization. And even then, it literally only lasts the first 2 minutes. And then he's fine? What? Who made that decision? Anyway, they also co-opted the big Butterfree scene and the Charmander scenes from the first season. The Butterfree scene was also, like, fine in the movie, I guess, but it was pretty rushed. So unlike the series where we had the time to get attached to Ash's first caught Pokemon, and then got the time to mourn the loss of it at the climax of its episode, instead we get glimpses of it evolving in small uses in battle, until we see it, the pink Butterfree, and it's time to say goodbye. And since this movie has, like, a plot to move forward that's in no way related to this, we have to move on quickly. So, it just doesn't have anywhere near the emotional gravitas as the TV version. Also, Ash's cry was really goofy for some reason. What? I don't know. Maybe I'm just weird. Surprisingly enough, the Charmander scene is the only thing I think that worked in the whole movie. I think it's because they actually took the time to retool it to fit it into the overall narrative, and the villain guy, while not great, is the closest thing to an interesting character, because there's at least some kind of theme or message they're trying to explore with him. What else? Oh, the companions. I didn't dislike them necessarily. Their backstories were a bit bare bones. Even though Wannabe Brock was a bit dull, I actually think Wannabe Misty had potential. But this being a Pokemon movie, they pretty quickly fall into useless side character territory. The biggest thing that weighed on my mind is the story plot. The Ho-Oh and Marshadow thing made very little sense. Like, there was really no point to Ho-Oh and the legend of the Rainbow Hero, right? Just a prophecy that led Ash to the top of a mountain and to literally die and be resurrected. Yet, what was the purpose of it all? Did the prophecy say, and then the Rainbow Hero shall be granted the ability to duel the Great Bird? Like, if it's just for the sake of adventure, weren't the stakes too high? What's the point of there being a prophecy then? If there's something else to it, then the movie completely failed to get that point across. Just take this item here and something will happen. Okay, it happened. Bye-bye. Marshadow's worse, I think, honestly. Because he undermines any semblance of a character arc for Ash while also being pointless to the story. At one point, Ash lashes out at everyone, acts super bratty and selfish, which you think might be at least some kind of interesting character development, but it's heavily implied that Marshadow, who's following him, is causing this change in attitude, which just makes it a pointless endeavor to try to establish him as an antagonist, I guess? The only other way I could see these scenes is that Ash really did lose it, and Marshadow's the one that helped show him the way back. But that would make Marshadow being the ultimate antagonist at the end even less sense. Either he's causing all these issues and looking for the moment to steal the feather for power or something, and he's just a shitty villain that doesn't have any real connection to the plot. Or he's a good guy that's helping guide Ash and protect the feather, and him going on a freaking rampage at the end is just something that happens without any real purpose or justification. I just don't get it. Also, what was the purpose of the old man? The Brock wannabe already knows the prophecy, right? And they have the old guy's book. And he doesn't add anything except saying, Marshadow's just gonna watch you guys now, and he's gonna kill us all! Again, adding to the confusion of Marshadow's role. I don't know. Let's just move on to the biggest thing coming out of this movie. Everyone talked about it when they first saw it. Pikachu speaks. I don't care. It doesn't make any sense to me either. I don't think anyone was clamoring to finally hear Pikachu's thoughts. And honestly, it's just a disservice to itself, really. Most of the time, Pokemon, both in the TV series and the movies, have been portrayed pretty well, I think. Since they don't speak English or anything, the animators got pretty good, I think, at making Pokemon expressive and understandable at some fundamental basic level without the use of words. Like, there was never a point in the rest of the movie where we're confused about what Pikachu is thinking and feeling, right? So the thought that they needed to give us a chance to actually hear Pikachu speak is a weird one. Maybe they just think we're stupid? I don't know. I don't know. That scene does something worse, though, honestly. It butchers what may have been the most impactful moment of Pokemon history. Ash's death in the first movie, as cheesy as it was, had some meaning behind it. It may not have been a great movie, don't get me wrong, but at least it had somewhat of a plot, right? It's somewhat of a theme that Ash's death was in service to. Here, he just wants to go to the mountain and just happens to lose hold of the feather, which just happens to get into Marshadow's apparently murderous hands, and he just happens to die, and then he just happens to not be dead. All to show what? That love trumps power? I think even the lazy theming of love supporting each other versus the pursuit of power no matter the cost is just ripped from that first Pokemon movie, which did it better. I don't get the point of this movie. Why was this the reimagining of the beginning of Ash's journey? Why were any of these decisions made? I'm baffled. Also, Team Rocket was in the movie? Whatever.